And good evening. Please be aware that the first hour and a half of this meeting will be recorded so that we can put it onto our website, our podcast, and our YouTube channel. We record in audio only. Feel free to use the podcast on our website along with your big book as a resource if you missed the study portion of the meeting. The study portion is also listed on the website so that you can follow along. Tonight's recap will start on page XXII, Men and Women Drink Essentially, and will end on page XXX where it says Continue to Fight. And our study tonight will start the next line on page XXX, the classification of alcoholics, and will end on page XXXII where it's signed by William D. Silkworth, MD. And do we have any announcements?
Good evening, family. My name is Jamie, very grateful recovered alcoholic, and welcome to everyone. Glad you are here. I just attended third quarter assembly for Area 64 this last weekend, and it was absolutely magnificent. So I'll be putting together my DCM report to you, and Pinky will get a GSR report out of that, and it will come out to all home group members in email. So please keep your eyes open for it. We will discuss some things at Next Group Conscience, which is really just a few weeks away because in November, because we have fourth quarter assembly in November. So look for further details. Thank you.
Go ahead.
Okay. Good evening, everyone. I'm a recovered alcoholic and my name is Terry. Welcome to the, AKA Pickle Chips. Welcome to the Lewisburg Primary Purpose Big Book Study Group. To prepare for the Big Book study, let's focus on having a 3-minute moment of silence followed by our family's fog light prayer.
And I'm a recovered alcoholic. My name is Trish. Thanks for joining us tonight. We're going to start the meditation in a minute, so please take a moment to get situated.
And please be aware of background noises when you are unmuted and sharing as to not distract others or yourself.
Okay, keep going.
We suggest we observe proper Zoom etiquette. If you wouldn't do it in a live meeting, please don't do it here. Friendly reminder. Absence of profanity offends no one. Please keep yourself muted during someone else's share. We will call on you in the order hands are raised.
From the foreword to the first edition of Alcoholics Anonymous. We of Alcoholics Anonymous are many thousands of men and women who have recovered from a seemingly hopeless state of mind and body. To show other alcoholics precisely how we have recovered is the main purpose of this book and of this group.
For the meditation, some suggestions are focus on your breath and posture. Breathe in God and breathe out self.
Take this time to reconnect with God, let the craziness of the day drift away, and ask God to help you focus on the study. And let's have our fog light prayer. God, let your love shine through us like a fog light,
like a fog
so
light,
that
so
those
that those who are lost, sick, and dying can find your love through us. Amen. Okay, let's have our secretary's report. Take it away, Donald.
Hey, good evening or afternoon, everyone. My name is Donald, and I am a very grateful, recovered, but not cured alcoholic secretary. And I've asked Nancy to read the recovered statement, and we read this notice to explain why many people in this group identify as recovered rather than recovering, and what it exactly means to be an recovered alcoholic. Take it away, Nancy. You're still muted, Nancy.
Okay, non-alcoholic, recovered. We are not cured of alcoholism. Recovered but not cured, that presents a conflict to some alcoholics. If we are cured, we would be able to drink responsibly. No, we are not cured. The allergic reaction to alcohol will remain with us for a lifetime, but we have been restored to sanity. That was the problem. The main problem of the alcoholic centers in his mind rather than in his body. Page 23. We are now sane where alcohol is concerned. Consequently, we have recovered. Thank you.
Thank you, Nancy. And thank you for joining us tonight. We meet every Tuesday starting at 5:30 p.m. Central Time with the Gerbil Fellowship Cage, where we chatter for about an hour before the start of the meeting. Feel free to bring side dishes to share with the buzzards. Our Big Book study starts promptly at 6:30 p.m. Central Time, and we ask that you be courteous and ready to begin at the sound of the foghorn. We take our Big Book study seriously. Because of this, chat will be disabled during the study. In the 1940s, when the only elements to sobriety were God, a Big Book, and one recovered alcoholic working with an untreated alcoholic, the success rate was as follows. From the forward to the second edition of Alcoholics Anonymous, page XX. Of alcoholics who came to AA and really tried, 50% got sober at once and remained that way. 25% sobered up after some relapse, and the remainder, those who stayed on with AA, showed improvement. Can we have a show of hands of the people who are joining us for the first time? Hi, Kelly.
We got a few. Welcome, everybody. Welcome, Tracy.
Welcome. Welcome. Yes. And can I have a show of hands of the recovered alcoholics? Hey. All right. These are your potential sponsors. Is anybody celebrating a milestone today? Whoa. Let me
Steffi
see.
is.
I know of at least one. And there's no fronts for the other one.
Stephanie?
Hello, I'm Stephanie, recovered alcoholic. Celebrated 5 years, the 13th.
Yeah. 5
Yeah.
years. Wow.
Yeah,
Look at
baby.
that. Oh, that's a pretty one.
That's beautiful. Thank you.
Diamond chips. Yeah. Okay.
Next.
Is there anybody else?
I
Uh-huh.
got one.
Uh-huh.
Alcoholic. I've got 3 days now, again.
Wonderful,
not
Kelly.
Kelly.
Welcome.
Good job.
Welcome back.
Thanks.
It's easier to stay. Anybody else?
Well, let's get Kelly a chip.
Oh, okay.
It's coming. There we go.
Here we go. 24. Right on.
Congratulations, Kelly.
Thank you.
That's the one chip that never goes old and never goes out of date because we've only got today. Is there anybody else by chance?
I'm also celebrating 40 years.
Oh, yeah.
40.
40. That's older than me.
Ooh, that's
Look
pretty.
at that. Oh, my gosh.
That's beautiful.
Thank
Happy
you.
birthday.
Thank
Happy
you.
birthday, Trish.
You're a rock star.
That's beautiful.
That is. Beautiful
Yay.
for a beautiful
Awesome.
person.
So
Okay.
happy. Woohoo!
XL, huh? That's something to get used to.
So is it our
That-
tradition to see how you did it, or at least to sing happy birthday?
Now let's just go on with the script.
Some people, yes. Some people, yeah, we
Let-
should do it since we got a couple.
Yeah.
Let's do it.
Yeah.
Ready? Ready?
Happy birthday
to you. Happy birthday
Happy
to you.
birthday.
Happy
Happy
birthday, dear
birthday.
Stephanie.
Happy
Happy
birthday,
birthday
Trish.
to
Happy
and many more. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Coming
many
back
more.
Okay,
Right.
back to you, Donald.
Happy birthday, Trish, and everybody else celebrating. Stephanie and Kelly. Anybody else with anything? Oh, get out. Congratulations. So, if you require a big book of your own, we have large print editions available that can be sent to you through via buzzard mail. Delivery time is questionable. Please remember to practice our 7th tradition by donating to the group address, Venmo, or PayPal posted in the chat and on the screen. Our suggestion is to purchase a big book and take an untreated alcoholic through the program of recovery. Please visit our website and post it in the chat. And thank you, and see you next week.
Thank you.
What?
From chapter 2,
Donald?
there is a solution. The tremendous fact for every one of us is that we have discovered a common solution. We have a way out on which we can absolutely agree and upon which we can join in brotherly and harmonious action. This is the great news this book covers to those who suffer from alcoholism.
This is an open meeting, and as such, all who have an interest in alcoholism and our program of recovery are welcome. Because this is an open meeting, you do not need to identify yourself nor your reason for being here if you do not wish to do so. Your anonymity will be protected. We ask that you protect ours.
While this is an open meeting, membership in this group is limited to those who wish to recover from alcoholism and have a desire to stop drinking for good and all. Each member of Alcoholics Anonymous is a potential sponsor of a new member and should clearly recognize the obligations and duties of such a responsibility.
Before we begin our study of the Big Book, last week we reviewed Tradition 5. Tonight, let's take a quick look at Tradition 6, and Billy is going to present that to us. Please refer to page 562 of the Big Book. Thank you.
Hi everybody, I'm a recovered alcoholic. My name is Billy. Tradition 6. An AA group ought never endorse, finance, or lend the AA name to any related facility or outside enterprise, lest problems of money, property, and prestige divert us from our primary purpose. And the longer part of that, problems of money, property, and authority may easily divert us from our primary spiritual aim. We think, therefore, that any considerable property of genuine use to AA should be separately incorporated and managed, thus dividing the material from the spiritual. An AA group as such should never go into business. Secondary aids to AA, such as clubs or hospitals, which require much property or administration, ought to be incorporated and so set apart that, if necessary, they can be freely discarded by the groups. Hence, such facilities ought not to use the AA name. Their management should be the sole responsibility of those people who financially support them. For clubs, AA managers are usually preferred, but hospitals, as well as other places of recuperation, ought to be well outside of AA and medically supervised. While an AA group may cooperate with anyone, such cooperation ought never go so far as affiliation or endorsement, actual or implied. An AA group can bind itself to no one. My personal experience with this, we have a statewide organization here in Vermont called the Turning Point. I recently found out there's another one out there called, another group called the Turning Point. They are not affiliated in any way, shape, or form. This group here in Vermont seeks to help people who want to recover from a variety. What ails you is kind of the, and they do all kinds of life coaching, and they do host some meetings. A number of years ago, some of our members are part of their organization, and they tried really hard to get various groups statewide in various cities to move all of our meetings to their locations and use their, we'd bring our coffee pots and all of our books, and they would give us a space, but because they are somewhat for profit, and at some point one of our members who was working with this other organization asked for names and phone numbers, basically wanted to take a census of who was going to AA meetings. And my group, I was the secretary of my group at the time, and my response was firm and clear. It was a hell no because of this tradition. Because if we gave up our meeting room, we gave up control of our meeting room. And we've had this meeting room for 30 some odd years. And we couldn't afford, and this had happened, I was aware that this organization had gone to other groups in other cities because I was also a member of my area committee. And so other area committee members had also brought this up as a concern at area meetings. So we did not end up supporting them, and I'm glad we didn't, because they got badly flooded out of their space in 2 consecutive annual floods here, and we did not. So we did not become homeless, nor did we lose all of our inventory and various other things. And the devastation of one of those floods, let alone the second one. Oh my, I can't even imagine. But this home group is posted up on a 2nd floor. So, but yeah, there's been other events. Some guy showed up with all kinds of pink colored paint and said a particular hardware store had given it to us. And a month or 2 after he painted all of our walls, oh, the hardware store wanted to get paid. That was a very eventful group conscious meeting. I'll leave it at that. So that's 2 of my experiences. I've got an arm length, but I won't go into all of them. Thanks for asking me to read these traditions.
Thank you, Billy. And thanks for being our traditionalist for the last 3 months. Weeks. Not months, weeks.
3 weeks.
3 weeks. So it's now the time for our weekly installment of That Ain't in the Book. And we hear a lot of stuff said in meetings that can't be reconciled with the program as it's described in the book of Alcoholics Anonymous. What follows is one of the things we often hear, along with what the Big Book has to say on the subject. One of the things we hear a lot is there are no musts in this program. And Larry, could you come in and tell us what it says on page 130 in paragraph 2?
I'm Larry, and I'm an alcoholic, and it says, and that is where our work must be done.
Thank you, Larry.
Thanks, Larry. As we study, please make use of pens, highlighters, and rulers so that you can share this experience with other alcoholics.
In order for us to stay focused as we study the Big Book, we use the Big Book Study Guide prepared by Joe and Charlie and Krusty Cliff of the Dallas Primary Purpose Group.
Okay, so tonight we're going to start a recap on page XXII, which will be read tonight by Kelly, followed by our study portion read by Jim.
After the page is read, we will ask questions from the imaginary podium, starting back at our study portion that was read by Jim. The answers will be 1 sentence unless otherwise specified, and multi-part questions are simply a 1-sentence answer split up by commas, semicolons, hyphens, and other fun bits of punctuation.
Basically, in English, what that means is we're going to read the material once through and then dissect the information a second time through the question and answer format. Notice how the language in the questions gives us a new light in which to consider the study material.
This is important because hearing the question and rereading the content offers a definite way of comprehending the material covered. After we've completed the study, we open up for comment, questions, and observations based on what was just read. If you have spiritual experiences with this information, you are free to share. Please keep your share on topic and under 5 minutes. At the 5-minute mark, you may hear a timer beep to let you know that your time is finished, or to please wrap it up.
However, Big Book study is not therapy. Should you begin to share on topics which are more appropriately discussed in a different setting, like with your sponsor, please do not be offended when we cut that conversation short and send the buzzards nipping at your heels. For that purpose, we have fellowship meetings before and after our study time.
You can never go wrong by commenting on the pages studied, which brings us to the words of one of the co-founders of Alcoholics Anonymous. Sobriety, freedom from alcohol, through the teaching and practice of the 12 steps is the sole purpose of any Alcoholics Anonymous group. And how we got to this point, we didn't just randomly open the book and say, let's study the end of the doctor's opinion tonight. We are in week 8 of a 96-week study, and we are in our 5th year as a group, but our 4th season of going through the book. And we start on the title page where we find our first promise, the story of how many thousands of men and women have recovered from alcoholism. And then we read through the preface and all of the forwards, the doctor's opinion, Bill's story, all the way to page 164, including the 3 times the asterisk refers us to Appendix 2, the spiritual experience. After that, we read Dr. Bob's Nightmare. We spend some time in the traditions, and then we close out on week 96 with the spiritual experience as a standalone study all by itself, because there's such important stuff in there, and because the spirituality is such a big part of the foundation of our program. And then after we finish that on week 96, we go all the way back and start back at the beginning, and we're not too far from there. Again, we're on our 4th time going through the book, and every time we go through, I find more stuff that I haven't seen or that I didn't hear the first time.
Okay, before we start the recap, we will need 5 or 6 virtual hands raised if you would like to be one of our answer readers. Please be aware that the first hour and a half of this meeting will be recorded so we can put it on our website.
And Kelly, please come on in and read our recap for us.
Hey y'all, I'm Kelly. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. I'm Kelly. I'm an alcoholic in Mississippi. Men and women drink essentially because they like the effect produced by alcohol, which is me. The sensation is so elusive that while they admit it is injurious, they cannot after a time differentiate the true from the false. To them, their alcohol life seems the only normal one. They are restless, irritable, and discontented unless they can again experience the sense of ease and comfort which comes at once by taking a few drinks which they see others taking with impunity. After they have succumbed to the desire again, as many do, and the phenomenon of craving develops, they pass through the well-known stages of a spree, the emerging remorseful with a firm resolution not to drink again. This is repeated over and over unless the person can experience an entire psychic change, Unless the person can experience an entire psychic change, there is very little hope of his recovery. On the other hand, and strange as this may seem to those who do not understand, once a psychic change has occurred, the very same person who seemed doomed, who had so many problems he despaired of ever solving them, suddenly finds himself easily able to control his desire for alcohol, the only effort necessary being that required to follow a few simple rules. Men have cried out to me in sincere and despairing appeal, "Doctor, I cannot go on like this. I have everything to live for. I must stop, but I cannot. You must help me." Faced with this problem, if a doctor is honest with himself, he must sometimes feel his own inadequacy. Although he gives all that is in him, it is often not enough. One feels that something more than a human power is needed to produce the essential psychic change. Through the aggregate of recoveries resulting from a psychiatric effort is considerable, we physicians must admit we have made little impression upon the problem as a whole. Many types do not respond to the ordinary psychological approach. And I have notes all over the place in my big book, so I'm kind of stumbling through this. I do not hold with those who believe that alcoholism is entirely a problem of mental control. I've had many men who had, for example, worked with a period of months on some problem or business deal, which was to be settled on a certain date favorably to them. They took a drink a day or so prior to the date, and then the phenomenon of craving all at once became paramount to all other interests. So that the important appointment was not met. These men were not drinking to escape. They were drinking to overcome a craving beyond their mental control. There are many situations which arise out of this phenomenon of craving, which cause men to make a supreme sacrifice rather than continue to fight. The classification of alcoholics seems most difficult and in much detail outside the scope of this book.
Hang on, Kelly. That's all. Thank you. I'd continue to fight. Thank you so much. And Jim, come on in with our study portion for this week.
Good evening, fellow travelers. Jim F. zooming in from St. Augustine, Florida. And the classification of alcoholics seems most difficult and in much detail is outside the scope of this book. There are, of course, the psychopaths who are emotionally unstable. We are all familiar with this type. They're always going on the wagon for keeps. They're over-remorseful and make many resolutions but never a decision. There is the type of man who is unwilling to admit that he cannot take a drink. He plans various ways of drinking. He changes his brand or his environment. There is a type who always believes that after being entirely free from alcohol for a period of time, he can take a drink without danger. There is the manic depressive type who is perhaps the least understood by his friends and about whom a whole chapter could be written. Then there are types entirely normal in every respect except in the effect alcohol has upon them. They're often able, intelligent, friendly people. All these and many others have one symptom in common. They cannot start drinking without developing the phenomenon of craving. This phenomenon, as we have suggested, may be the manifestation of an allergy, which differentiates these people and sets them apart as a distinct entity. It has never been, by any treatment with which we are familiar, permanently eradicated. The only relief we have to suggest is entire abstinence. This immediately precipitates us into a seething cauldron of debate. Much has been written, pro and con, but among physicians, the general opinion seems to be that most chronic alcoholics are doomed. What is the solution? Perhaps I can best answer this by relating one of my experiences. About 1 year prior to this experience, a man was brought in to be treated for chronic alcoholism. He had but partially recovered from a gastric hemorrhage and seemed to be a case of pathological mental deterioration. He had lost everything worthwhile in life and was only living, one might say, to drink. He frankly admitted and believed that for him there was no hope. Following the elimination of alcohol, there was found to be no permanent brain injury. He accepted the plan outlined in this book. 1 year later, he called to see me, and I experienced a very strange sensation. I knew the man by name and partly recognized his features, but there all resemblance ended. From a trembling, despairing, nervous wreck had emerged a man brimming over with self-confidence and contentment. I talked with him for some time, but was not able to bring myself to feel that I had known him before. To me, he was a stranger. and so he left me. A long time has passed with no return to alcohol. When I need a mental uplift, I often think of another case brought in by a physician prominent in New York. The patient had made his own diagnosis, and deciding his situation hopeless, had hidden in a deserted barn, determined to die. He was rescued by a searching party and in desperate condition, brought to me. Following his physical rehabilitation, he had a talk with me in which he frankly stated he thought the treatment a waste of effort, unless I could assure him, which no one ever had, that in the future he would have the willpower to resist the impulse to drink. His alcoholic problem was so complex and his depression so great that we felt his only hope would be through what we then called moral psychology, and we doubted if even that would have any effect. However, he did become sold on the ideas contained in this book. He has not had a drink for a great many years. I see him now and then, and he is as fine a specimen of manhood as one could ever wish to meet. I earnestly advise every alcoholic to read this book through, and though perhaps he came to scoff, he may remain to pray. William D. Silkwith, M.D.
Thank you so much. Okay. Now we're moving on to our question and answer portion. I have Nancy, William, Kenny, Stephanie, Rick, and Art. Thank you, everybody, for volunteering. That makes it so much easier. Okay, we're going to start with Nancy. And this on page XXX. Is it easy to classify alcoholics?
The classification of alcoholics seems most difficult, and in much detail is outside the scope of this book.
Okay, William, you have 4 sentences. Type 1. There, of course.
Oh, okay. There are, of course, the psychopath who are emotional unstable. We are all familiar with this type. They are always going on the wag. Did I jump ahead?
No, keep going.
No, you're good.
Okay, I'll start over again. There are all, of course, the psychopaths who are emotional unstable. We are all familiar with this type. They are always going on the wagon for keeps. They are over remorse and make many resolutions, but never a decision.
Okay, type 2 goes to William. Oh, wait, Kenny.
There's the type of man who is unwilling to admit that he cannot drink.
Keep going, 3 sentences, sorry. Go ahead.
He plans various ways of drinking. He changes his brand or his environment. There is the...
No, this is Stephanie. Stephanie's next, type 3.
There is the type who always believes that after being entirely free from alcohol for a period of time, he can take a drink without danger.
Okay, Rick. Hi, good to see you. Type 4.
There is the manic depressive type, who is perhaps the least understood by his friends and about whom a whole chapter would be written.
And Art, type 5, 2 sentences.
Then there are the types entirely normal in every respect except in the effect alcohol has upon them. They are often able, intelligent, friendly people.
And I've got the first of a few comments. The first being, isn't this the most common type of alcoholic? While we are dealing with alcoholism, in the Alcoholics Anonymous of today, there are many outside issues that come into our program. Could these same concepts apply to many of these outside issues?
Okay, back to you, Nancy. This is a two-part question. Are there even more types? And B, what is the common denominator of each and every type?
All these and many others have one symptom in common. They cannot start drinking without developing the phenomenon of craving.
William, what is the one thing that sets alcoholic men and women apart from all other people?
This phenomenon, as we have suggested, may be the manifestation of an allergy which differentiate these people and set them apart as distinct entities.
Okay, Kenny, which treatment program has been successful in treating alcoholics?
It has never been by any treatment with which we are familiar permanently eradicated.
Steph, what is the only relief from alcoholism?
The only relief we have to suggest is entire abstinence.
If the alcoholic never takes the first drink, he can never crave the second, and then the third, and then the fourth, and then the fifth, and the next fifth, and the next fifth.
Okay, Rick, in spite of all the attention paid to alcoholism, what is the general consensus of physicians regarding alcoholics? 2 sentences.
This immediately precipitates us into a seething cauldron of debate. Much has been written pro and con, but among physicians, the general opinion seems to be that most chronic alcoholics are doomed.
Okay, Art, how does Dr. Silkworth demonstrate the solution to chronic alcoholism? 2 sentences.
What is the solution? Perhaps I can best answer this by relating one of my experiences.
Okay, Nancy, what was the solution to the first alcoholic's dilemma? Read the entire paragraph.
Oh, okay. About 1 year prior to this experience, a man was brought in to be treated for chronic alcoholism. He had but partially recovered from a gastric hemorrhage and seemed to be a case of pathological mental deterioration. He had lost everything worthwhile in life and was only living, one might say, to drink. He frankly admitted and believed that for him there was no hope. Following the elimination of alcohol, there was found to be no permanent brain injury. He accepted the plan outlined in this book. 1 year later, he called to see me, and I experienced a very strange sensation. I knew the man by name and partly recognized his features, but their all resemblance ended. From trembling, despairing, nervous wreck had emerged a man brimming over with self-reliance and contentment. I talked with him for some time, but was not able to bring myself to feel that I had known him before. To me, he was a stranger, and so he left me. A long time has passed with no return to alcohol.
Okay, thank you.
The alcoholic described in this paragraph, Hank P., wrote Chapter 10 to employers.
Okay, William, what was the solution to the second alcoholic's dilemma? Read the entire paragraph.
When I needed a mental uplift, I often think of another case from in prominent in New York. The patient had made his own diagnosis and decided his situation hopeless. Had hidden in a desert on determined to die. He was rescued by a searching party, and in desperate condition, brought to me. Following his physical rehabilitation, he had talked with me in which he frankly stated he thought the treatment a waste of effort unless I could assure him, which no one never had, that in the future he would have the willpower to resist the impulse to drink.
Thank you. Kenny. Oh, nope, there's a comment. Sorry.
The alcoholic described in this paragraph, Fitz M., wrote the story titled Our Southern Friend.
Kenny, what was the solution to the second man's alcoholism?
His alcoholic problem was so complex and his depression so great that we felt his only hope would be through what we call moral psychology. And we doubted if that would have any effect.
Stephanie, did it work for him? 3 sentences.
However, he did become sold on the ideas contained in this book. He had not had a drink for a great many years. I see him now and then, and he is fine a specimen of manhood as one could wish to meet.
Rick, this is 2-part. What does Dr. Silkworth advise every alcoholic to do? And B, if an alcoholic carefully studies this book, what may he wind up doing?
I earnestly advise every alcoholic to read this book through and through, and though perhaps he came to scoff, he may remain to pray.
Okay. That was written by William D. Silkworth, MD. Okay, guys. That was a great job. Thank you all for helping me by staying focused. Okay. We'll now open the floor for sharing. If you have experience with the portion of the book that was just read, please feel free to share. A friendly reminder, as we share, profanity offends no one. We are open for comment, questions, and observations based on what was just read. If you have spiritual experience with this information, you're free to share. The meeting is open. Trish, are you calling on people this week or me?
You got it.
Okay, I gotta adjust that. The glare is real bad here.
And Nancy's hand is up, so I will call on her to get us started.
Nancy Alcoholic, thank you for this chapter. I always thought that what's wrong with me, I can figure out. But then when I read this book, all this type of alcoholics, I am all of them. In every one of them, in different ways. It's crazy because I guess I never really knew who I was. I always thought, what's wrong with me? And why can't I get it together? You know. And with this program, especially with Dr. Sithwalk telling us all these different types of alcoholics is amazing. You know, and until I started reading this, I didn't realize that there's a solution to my problem. You know, and I am so glad that all of you are here and we have this book to go through every day. And it's like what Trish said. Every time I read this book, there's always something new that comes up. You know, and I am grateful for that. Thank you.
Thank you, Nancy.
Thank you, Nancy. Okay, I'm looking for more hands up. Oh, there's one. Rick, Fireman Rick, come on in.
Hello, everyone. Rick Alcoholic. It is good to be here tonight. Yeah, the four different, the five types, I should say. I can relate to all of them. I was the type that was always trying to find a way to drink. I was always the type that thought, even though I failed over and over, that if I stayed away from it for a bit, I'll be able to drink with control, I guess. When I came to the program, to this day, I still got friends, who I would drink weekends away with, drink. We get together on our days off, go wherever, and each and every one of those guys knew how to stay, how not to drink. We come back, I would be drinking on the Monday. If I couldn't throughout the week, they wouldn't be. Today, these guys, they can enjoy a beer. They don't drink like they used to. Or because they just don't. They don't do that anymore. Could be a many. That's what I wanted. And I was mad that at myself that many years ago, especially in the 70s and 80s, when I told myself to slow down because you won't be able to, you'll be out of control someday. So when I came to AA, I was mad at me, not God or anybody else. I knew, I believed that if I had took control back then when I first started drinking, that I wouldn't have to be sitting in these rooms today. But it's you guys, Alcoholics Anonymous, in this book that has taught me the reason why I couldn't stop or control my drinking way back then. I was already an alcoholic. I couldn't make the decision to stay stopped. I could stop. There were times I could stop, and I could never stay stopped. And once I began to drink, I drank to the point where I realized today I was doomed if I was not sitting here, if I was not in this program today. Today I'm very grateful that those have been, that has been removed from me. I'm very grateful for this program. I'm very grateful. Just like tonight, I'm able to mark my book. I had it marked. I thought I had it marked correctly, the 5 different types, but I had a couple in the wrong place. So I corrected it tonight. As I come to this program every day, things are being revealed to me all the time. So for me, there was another. I was one of those folks that, I would plan to do something and get something done, and I would screw it up because the day I had to do that, I would get drunk, saying to myself, "Oh, you can do it tomorrow," and that thing would never get done. And then later on, I just didn't care. I was one of the alcoholics I was an alcoholic that felt I have every right to drink the way I do because I hadn't lost anything. I walked into the program with everything. Today I know if I go pick up a drink, that all those things that I didn't lose, I would be able to check them off as lost if I go back to drinking. That I firmly believe. So, today when I have things I need to get done, I get them done. As most of us do. And so anyways, I'm going to start the ramble. So I'm going to shut up. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you all for always being here on Tuesday night.
Thank you, Rick. Let's see if I see any other hands in the glare here. Oh, there it is, Sheila. Come on in.
Hello, everyone. Sheila, alcoholic. Thank you for this wonderful, beautiful opportunity to really expand my knowledge on this book and this program. For me, I connected to number one. I was, emotionally unstable. I didn't try to get on the wagon for keeps, but I was emotionally unstable. I was over remorseful when I hurt someone or destroyed something. I was manic depressive. I was actually labeled psychologically by professionals as bipolar, manic depressive. And since I was a teen, that's when I started drinking. I came in at 62. I in the end lost everyone. No one wanted to be around me. They loved me, but they just couldn't be around me. They couldn't watch me kill myself, and I was dying. For me, that phenomenon of craving, that just drove me. I lived on alcoholic minutes, and in the end, I was the man who was in the deserted barn, deciding my situation hopeless. I was living in the middle of nowhere. I isolated, drank for months. No one knew where I was. No one cared. I didn't have anyone left in my phone. And I just had was very sick, gastric hemorrhaging, literally. I couldn't put sheets on the bed because it was bad. You know how bad it can get. And then my brain was gone too. I would say probably I would have been diagnosed as having had a wet brain. It took me about a year to be able to put a sentence together. But I did it with this program. My problem was so complex and my depression was that great. The only hope for me was this book and this program. Moral psychology didn't work. I tried to go to some outside people. I didn't have insurance and I didn't have anyone to help to intervene. So it was really hard for me to navigate trying to get to them. But I did try and nothing worked for me except for this program and these steps and this book. So I guess I did it the old-fashioned way. I went to the rooms. I went to meetings every day. I got sponsors right away, and just started in service at 3 months, and started working with other alcoholics. As soon as I was cleared by my sponsor, and did the steps. And I am sold on the ideas in this book because I haven't had a drink for 9 years, and that's because I live this program. I don't work it. It's so automatic in me now that I live it, and I love it. And I've had no cravings for, even with deaths and illness and losing friends to cancer, new move to a new city, not knowing a soul, homelessness in sobriety. And I have not had a thought of a drink, and that's because I'm in maintenance mode. Staying on the beam in the center of the program and communicating to people. Communication is so important, and number one is God. Because I got to be God-centered all the time, and I've got to do that work in this program. It's such a beautiful program. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Sheila. Okay, Trish, it's your turn.
Thanks, Terry. Hey, everybody. I'm Trish. I'm an alcoholic. And, I could also relate to all those 5 types in the beginning. At some point in my drinking, I hit each one of those 5 types. I spent a lot of time in type 2. I didn't want to admit that I couldn't drink, even though I knew I couldn't safely drink. But I also was a type 3 for a really long time, even after coming into the rooms, thinking that after a period of time free from alcohol, maybe I could learn to drink again safely. Even though I knew down in my soul that wasn't going to happen. And, you know, I had to recognize and I had to realize, and I couldn't know it without reading this book, that I have that allergy. I have the allergy that Dr. Silkworth talks about with that craving. Once I take one, I can't not have another one. And, you know, this was the chapter that let me realize that it wasn't just a matter of willpower. It wasn't that I didn't want to put it down enough, that I really couldn't. And I had to come in here and find this program and take these steps. And, you know, I've had experiences, not so much with other people, but, that I couldn't recognize, but I have crossed paths with people in my sobriety who I knew way back when. And they had the same reaction that Dr. Silkworth had to Hank P. You know, I know you, I know you, but you're not the same person that I knew. You are that different. What did you do? And some of them I was comfortable enough telling them what I did to that caused the change in me. Finding God, getting sober, living these steps. And others I just told them that, I don't know, I was just a changed person. But you know, I also know that depression that Fitz was talking about in the part about him. Prior to drinking, during drinking, after being in the rooms. But I was also able to, I'm not going to say treat, but I was also able to learn to live with my depression through taking these steps on my depression, on the things that I felt was giving me that depression. So to the point that it didn't paralyze me anymore, and I was no longer stuck sitting in that depression anymore like I had been for years. You know, and as a result, I have learned how it talks later in the book that this program has become a design for living for me. It's a living, eating, breathing part of my life. I don't just come into a meeting and check off the box and say, okay, I've been to a meeting. I have to live this program in all aspects of my life in order for these changes to have occurred, in order for the changes to occur that other people see, but also so drastically that I'm able to see as well. And as a result of that, I can then carry to other people what it is that I have done, so that perhaps maybe they will be able to learn this way of life too. And as Dr. Silkworth ended, rather than scoffing, maybe they will remain to pray. Thanks.
Thanks, Trish. Okay, William, I see your hand up, my friend.
Yes, my name is William Alcoholic, and first and foremost, I just want to say congratulations to the sober. You know, I'm glad you're here because I need you to help me stay sober. I can't live by myself. I've tried so many times and it just didn't work for me. You know, and definitely I see my fingerprints all over the 5 category that Dr. Silkworth was talking about today. You know, and I came around in 1989. You know, I couldn't put it down until 1992. You know, and I sit in the rooms, and every time they read how it worked, I self-diagnosed it myself. You know, they say grave emotion mental disorder, and that's how I got that. You know, I was in and out of the rooms and just couldn't put no time together, man. You know, and I tried to control it myself. And I like what they say that actually I call it the question, you can't differentiate the truth from reality, you know, and I couldn't do that. You know, because every time I picked up that drink, I thought it was going to be just like it was that few times that I had fun and enjoyed it, man. But through this recovery process, I've seen that I was more. If one make me feel that good, another one make me feel better. So I was doing right from the start, you know. But definitely, I think of Alcoholics Anonymous, you know, because you know, I came in here in 1972. I just sat down in the room. I couldn't think, man. I couldn't think, man. And God sent some angels here to help me. A lot of people came in, and you know, and it helped me in the room. Like I remember this time began to clear up sponsors, friends, people who were sober before I was, wanted me to get sober, you know, and they said some stuff like this. I remember one lady was telling me, she used to holler at me all the time because I used to be talking politics in the room. You know, she hollered at me, she would holler at me. She was a petite lady. It seemed like everywhere I sat, she sat behind me. And I would start talking politics. She would get up and say, William, get honest about alcohol. And that's when they had the smoke breaks and stuff, right? And we'll go outside. I didn't smoke, but we'll go outside. People be smoking, and I'll see her standing over there. Man, I had such a resentment at her that I could burn a hole in her dress. You know, I could burn her dress right off of her. But so when I had 5 years sober, I said, Christina, why would you speak at my anniversary? She said, of course, it's my pleasure to speak at your anniversary. She said it just so excited me, and I was okay. Now that was a segue for me to ask her what I wanted to know. You know, Christina, Christina, why did you always holler at me? She said, William, let me tell you something. She said, I love you, and I didn't want to see you go back out there and let it I'll tell you. Every time I see it, until she died about 2 years ago, her hair up on my arm, you know. But somehow, with all that stuff, I thought I'm sober today, and I'm having a good life. So, you know what I mean? I can't probably but thank God enough of that for me to enjoy some of my life today, you know, and love the spirit way of earn it, you know, complete act, you know, complete. And I couldn't do it by myself. I thought I had willpower because somewhere I had gained a certain amount of success with materialistic stuff that I thought I could do the same thing with alcoholism. But it never worked, you know, it never worked and stuff, you know. But I kept trying. You know, but when I came here and began to read the literature, to begin to understand, because all I had was feelings, and I didn't know that I was going through those type of medical terminology when it was doing. You know, I had feeling, I had fear, I had pride, you know, and all kind of feeling all wrapped up in that. You know what I mean? So I'm grateful today that I'm sober today, and I'm a happy camper, pretty happy, in peace and content. I tell you, I go to the gym in the morning time. And about 6 o'clock, I'm in the gym doing what I need to do, you know. And I'm reading spiritual stuff. And one guy come in, he looked at me and say, you know, I could mark the spot. You always the same spot. It look like nothing ever bothers you, you know, because of, you know, what y'all have given me and the God I have in my life today. You know, I'm content. But sometimes I can get my cage, get rattled there. Rattled. You know what I mean? But I try not to stay there. You know, because, you know, I'm black. Thank you so much for having me, and I miss you guys last week. I had a Wi-Fi problem. I kept trying.
Thank you, William. Okay, Larry, you're next.
Hey, Terry. Yeah, good to be here. I was looking, and I look over these types of alcohol, and I guess I can see myself in almost all of them, maybe except for the last one. I don't think I've ever been normal. I'm probably more normal, or at least feel normal now, since I've gotten into Alcoholics Anonymous, as I ever did before. But while I was drinking, I don't think I ever felt normal in any way, shape, or fashion. But I did, you know, I didn't want to ever want to admit that I could not ever take a drink. I didn't ever want to admit that. I did. I did try to change a lot of, the way I drank. I know I changed and thought I'd get more expensive liquor and thought that would slow me down because I might think twice if I had to spend more money for the liquor I drank. But that didn't happen. I drank just as much liquor as I did, no matter how much I had to pay for it. Whether or not it was number 7 Jack Daniels or single barrel or Gentleman Jack, it didn't make any difference. I drank just as much. So, when I came into Alcoholics Anonymous, I came into Alcoholics Anonymous thinking that Alcoholics Anonymous would help me stay sober long enough that maybe I could drink some more. So number 3, maybe you all would teach me how to drink responsible, and if I stayed sober long enough that I could learn how to drink responsibly. So I know number 3 was definitely on my mind as I came into this program and for a while after I came in. But it was this program and after coming into this program that it finally taught me that I could never drink. It finally convinced me that there was not a chance that I could ever take another drink into this body. That drinking was a complete failure in my life, and complete abstinence was the only answer for me. And when I finally got past that and saw that and accepted that, this program became a lot simpler for me. And I began to do the steps, and I began to do what was suggested for me. And I began to work the program. And what happened was that the program began to work me. And the program began to get inside of me and began to work in my life in ways that convinced me that I had so much more to live for than just drinking alcohol. I had a whole life ahead of me without alcohol, and I could be of service to others. That's all I got.
Thank you, Larry. Brian, you're up.
Hi, my name is Brian. I'm an alcoholic. Hope everyone's having a good night. I could definitely relate, to this that we read tonight because, I remember, I would say, 2 distinct things during my drinking period. I mean, obviously, while I was drinking, I drank pretty much the same for a long time. Once I started getting blackouts, I switched from Jack to Makers. That was my way of saying, okay, maybe I should do something different. I can't drink Jack anymore. And I drank Jack or Makers up until, I stopped for good. But, and I think I said this last week when I spoke, maybe it was the week before, I had a friend tell me that, you might not ever be able to drink again. And, I was not going to entertain that in any way, shape, form, or fashion. And I'm like, oh, here he goes, overreacting, can't drink ever again. And he was right. I can't drink because when I drink, it sets off a chain reaction. And it leads to the same cycle of just insanity that happens every other time, And, so I got to a point where I was like, I have to do something. As I've said before, I wasn't feeling great. I had a lot of inflammation. I just felt bad all over, mentally, physically. My life was in shambles. My marriage was in shambles. And I went to Hazelden and Betty Ford, and I stopped for 7 months. And then I started, compromising with myself. And I started telling myself, well, maybe I could have like one a week, one every couple weeks and stuff like that. And eventually I started doing the one. And then that one obviously became 2, and then 3, and then, okay, well, I can drink what I want as long as I'm home by this time. And, and soon enough I was back in the cycle. I would say it might not have been as bad as it was previously, but it was worse in other ways in that I was always a binge drinker. And this became even more of a binge because I wasn't drinking every night. So when I did drink, I would just go completely crazy. And, when it wasn't really until I came into AA that I managed to stop and, reach a year and 1 month of sobriety. And, that's when I really gave myself over to my higher power. And I realized I can't keep doing this. I made the mistake. I tried the compromise thing. I think I needed that as part of my journey because it allowed me to realize that, all right, it's not going to work. I really cannot drink ever again because as soon as I do, I'll fall back into the same cycle. It might take a month, 2 months, maybe a year, but it will happen. And, I think one big important thing for myself was understanding my thought process and that I can't think about drinking as having one drink. Because for me, it's like, well, why not have 2? If I have one week, why not have it 1 every week? And then it gets 2 every week, and that's just the way I realize my mind works. Like, I can't think of just having a drink and not thinking about it. It's going to be like I've opened a gate. And I realize I have to keep that gate closed. Because once I open that gate, there's just no end for me. There's no, okay, we'll stop here. And I think that was the biggest thing that's helped keep me sober was understanding how my mind works and how I think about it. Because now, knowing that, I can keep that top of mind. Thank you.
Thanks, Brian. Art, you're on.
Good evening, friends. My name is Art. I'm a grateful recovered alcoholic. And, this chapter answered some questions for me. It explained some of the behaviors that that were disturbing to me. And the first one, earlier in the chapter where it talks about becoming irritable, restless, irritable, and discontent, and thinking about the ease and comfort that comes with a few drinks. And when I first came across that statement, I thought, that describes my feeling before I started drinking. And when I discovered alcohol, it was the solution. It was what I'd been looking for my whole life. It was a way to escape. But then he talks about it's not for escape, but to satisfy a craving. And so that explains some of the behaviors later on in my drinking career. For example, I would often say, I'm going to stop in here and play a couple games of pool, drink a couple of drinks, and then I'm going to go home. And sometimes I was able to do that, but most of the time I would look up and realize it's already 9 o'clock. I should have been home 3 hours ago. What's going on? And then the thought would hit me. Okay, I'm already in trouble for being late, so it might as well be 3 hours or might as well be 4 hours is 3. Give me another beer. And I never knew why that happened until I read this chapter, and it talks about that phenomenon of craving that comes about when we introduce alcohol into our system. If we have that allergy that it's talking about, that craving takes over. And I didn't know that. So it kind of explained. And then it goes on to say that the only hope for an alcoholic is complete abstinence. And, I didn't like that either. But I've discovered that that's absolutely true. And, I was introduced to this program at least 3 years before I actually got sober. And at that time, I didn't qualify for membership here. I didn't want to quit drinking. Are you crazy? And I didn't think I was an alcoholic. I'm not like these people around here. And then they would talk about, if you want what we have, and I'm thinking, what do you have that I should want? And so I kept drinking until I could no longer deny the evidence of my life, and I knew I had to do something. And I knew it had to be something different, something I had never tried before. And it turned out that Alcoholics Anonymous was the answer to my problem. And, there's a statement that we read tonight that there is a solution. And it has to do with a complete psychic rearrangement, a psychic change. I had to change the way I think. And when I could change the way I think, I could change the way I behave. But I couldn't do it by myself. There had to be a power in this world somehow, some way, that's bigger and stronger than I am, that could help me to overcome this craving or this. And so, as I began to understand my alcoholism a little better, and by reading this chapter several times over, it became more and more evident what I needed to do. And so I've been here for a long time now. If I manage to not drink for another few weeks, I get to celebrate 47 years. And I never thought that would be possible. But yet here I am. Grateful for the experience of Alcoholics Anonymous. Thank you.
Thank you, Art.
Thank you, Art. I'll jump in real quick. I'm Terry, recovered alcoholics, aka Pickle Chips. Every time we pray out at the end of the night, I pray for one of my closest friends' son, Eric. And so I've been praying for him for a while. I've even had other people pray for him. But, I hear the statistics that Jamie always quotes. And he did pass away on Thursday. And it was just devastating to know that he could have had a normal life had he made that decision they talk about with a type 1 alcoholic. He was always going on the wagon for keeps, but he never made that decision that he was going to stick with it. And I tried to help. The church tried to help. My son tried to help. We all tried to help. But it's just devastating when somebody close to you passes away from this disease. And then I wanted to talk too about the type that believes after being entirely free for a period of time, it could take a drink without danger. That happened to me at about 7 years sober. I was having a very difficult time sleeping. I was going through one of those stages of life, and my hormones prevented me from sleeping. So I got the bright idea one night that I could drink brandy, because I never had a problem with brandy, was what my head kept saying. I could always, my whole life, just have a little bit of brandy occasionally, a hot toddy or something when I didn't feel good. Never had a problem with brandy. Never needed to have a second shot. Never had a problem with it. So my brain convinced me that I could have a brandy and that would help me sleep. Luckily, by the grace of God, it was after 2 a.m. So I couldn't go to the liquor store to get a bottle of brandy, because I made the decision. It was too late in the evening to call my sponsor. I didn't have anybody to talk to. I was just going to do it. And not tell anybody, of course. This was just going to be something I did at night to help me sleep. Oh, thank God it was after 2 a.m. So that saved my butt. And I can laugh at it now, and I still bring it up 20 years later because it made such an impact on me. And, when I'm working with others or talk to people that think they could just take one drink, I relay that, one drink, even if it was something I didn't like, I know where I would be today, and it wouldn't be celebrating, 20 years later. And speaking of that, I want to congratulate Trish and Stephanie for their milestones. I'm so proud of you, and I love you both very much. That's all I got. Thanks.
Thanks, Terry.
Who's next? Let's see. The glare's finally gone, so now if you raise your hand, I can see you.
We have no
Okay.
hands.
Should we close out?
I will read out the closing.
Okay.
From page 164. Our book is meant to be suggestive only. We realize we know only a little. God will constantly disclose more to you and to us. Ask Him in your morning meditation what you can do each day for the man who is still sick. The answers will come if your own house is in order. But obviously you cannot transmit something you haven't got. See to it that your relationship with him is right, and great events will come to pass for you and countless others. This is the great fact for us. Abandon yourself to God as you understand God. Admit your faults to him and to your fellows. Clear away the wreckage of your past, give freely of what you find, and join us. We shall be with you in the fellowship of the Spirit, and you will surely meet some of us as you trudge the road of happy destiny. May God bless you and keep you until then. And Terry, do you want to take us out?
No, I'd like Jamie too with his statistics. Can you do that, Jamie? About how many people die every day? Maybe he doesn't hear me. Okay. In our group, we raise our hands and do a virtual holding hands. Since we can't be together, we're from all over the place, all different parts of the country, and we're holding our virtual hands. I'd like to take a moment of silence for the alcoholic who still suffers. And I know there's so many that die every day of this disease, and I'm just so heartbroken and so sad for my friend. But can we take a moment of silence for those that are still suffering before we say the Lord's Prayer? Thank you. Okay. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. Lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory, forever. Amen.
Amen. Thanks, everybody. Good
Thank
meeting.
you, everyone. Thank you.
Thank everybody.
Thank you, everyone. Great meeting.
Thanks,
A
guys. for all your-
wonderful time. Congratulations to all three of the celebrants.
Thank you.
Yes, I
Yeah, right on.
Happy birthday, Trish.
Yay.
Trish,
Thank you.
Stephanie, good night and happy birthday.
Thank
Don't
you.
go out celebrating tonight. I mean, you can. You just don't go
Drink it
drink
without a drink.
like that.
There you go. There you go.
Have a piece of cake, and not rum cake.
No.
And be careful with the cake.
Yeah, that's my addiction. I have one bite of cake and I'll eat the whole darn thing.
Oh yeah, that's true too.
Yeah.